Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Fearless Freedom with Dr. G. Today, we have the pleasure of having Dr. Uchenna Umeh. Hopefully, I said that correctly. If I did not say correctly, please correct me. And she is an amazing physician that was born in Nigeria. And she has been practicing or has practiced pediatrics for 30 years here in the States. She has a mission that she's going to tell us about, which is absolutely amazing and well needed. And she also is a mom and is an entrepreneur. And so many pots on the fire, lots of accolades, and lots of experience to share with you all. So Dr. Umeh?
Yes.
Did I say that right?
You got it right. The first two times. Awesome.
Okay.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. Oh my goodness. I just feel like so special. Like everyone has just been so receptive. I just love it, love it, love it. So you're right. I was born in Nigeria. I like to call myself a momatrician. Actually, my 14-year-old coined that word. I don't think I should take credit for it, but he said, Mom, you're a mom and you're a pediatrician. I said, yes, I'm a momatrician. Been doing it for 29 and some change, coming up on 30 years in a minute. And so I guess I know a whole lot about a little bit, right? But so I love what I do. I love it to pieces. I get all my mojo from little people when they're sick. But I think in the past few years, you get to a point in your life, you've just been doing the same thing and you still love what you do, but it's like you feel like there
Absolutely.
might be more. Yeah. So that's kind of how the whole thing came about. I came to America in '94 for my residency at Howard, HU.
Yay! HU.
And then I went on to open my own private practice in South Kakalaki for about 14 years and some change, just a little under that. And then, life happens. I found myself divorced with 3 little boys and I had to do something quickly. And so it was either continue with my practice, which I loved so much, but, it was some other things that led to the divorce, partially had to do with finances in the practice. So it was just easier to sell it and just move on. So I joined the Air Force, believe it or not. I came in as a lieutenant colonel and I was immediately made commander and medical director and all kinds of craziness, just a lot of responsibilities, which was fine. No problem with that. But I just kind of prefer my heels to my boots. And so it was, after my 4 years, it was kind of time to go. And I love my time there, but it's just not for me. I'd moved around a lot already and I wasn't going to move again. And it was time to move. So I didn't want to move again. So I stayed on in San Antonio, which is where I am right now. And I joined a ginormous multi-specialty group practice here in San Antonio. But coincidentally, when I was in private practice, I started noticing maybe a little bit. I got 1 or 2 kids that were depressed, 1 or 2 kids that were, anxious, nothing major.
Mm-hmm.
But my first suicide was while I was in private practice. He had come to me with his mother. He was 15. And I want to give credit to him, so rest in peace, because he kind of lit the spark. But when I went back, I realized I had a doctor friend who actually took her own life in 2000. I know that because my middle son is the exact same age as the time. She actually, the news of her demise, should I call it that, actually it threw me into 6-week early labor with my middle son. I went into labor with him. The news was just, it was devastating for me. And so, but I didn't think about it. I didn't put that together until now. You hear about doctors and suicide and it's almost like mainstream. But 18 years ago, I had a close friend who did that. And you just don't put things together. So as a doctor, you want to separate that from your patients, from, who you are and what you do.
Yes.
And then unfortunately for me, I couldn't. And so when I joined the Air Force, I started noticing a lot of these kids coming in with cutting. And I had I think it was a 9-year-old who tried to jump from like an 11-story. It just all kinds of.
Oh my gosh.
Things. I had a 17-year-old who slept for 36 hours. It was only when they came to see me for something unrelated, I think a well child. And then he said, oh yeah. And then it came out that that day he slept for so long was because he had taken his friend's mother's bag of Xanax.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, what do you mean? He said he just wanted to, he just wanted to end it. And, and these kids literally started coming to me like every day. I would get 2 or 3 kids. I was full-blown depression, full-blown cutting, or just not good. So one day I said to my nurse, I said, is it me or are we getting a lot of depressed kids? And he was like, are we getting we're getting 3 to 4, ma'am. I'm like, what? And then we started looking, and indeed it was about 3 kids a day. And so I said it as a joke, like maybe there's some kind of smoke coming out of my head. Maybe there's something about me. And then I started talking to my parents, just, talking to the patients' mothers. And one mom said, Doc, maybe you have a healing spirit. And I was like,
wow.
What about that? That's deep. But
that
okay.
is awesome.
And then I wrote my first article for Kevin MD that got 500 shares. It was about a pediatrician's healing spirit. And I started talking about how this may just be like maybe what I'm supposed to do,
Mm-hmm.
I guess 30 is a round number. I'm going to be 50 is a round number. I'm like, maybe, just maybe I should make a pivot. But everything was still kind of okay until I had my 8-year-old patient in May who tried to hang himself with a computer cord.
Oh my gosh.
I could not believe. I stopped and I was like, okay, that's it. The same son who named me Mama Trish said, Mom, maybe you should start talking about it.
Wow.
Well, maybe I should start talking about it. And I took his school, was my first, attempt. I went to his school and I spoke to the kids. It was a career day, and I got a special permission to not talk about my career, talk about bullying.
Right.
And it was such a big hit that everyone's like, okay, maybe this is what you're supposed to be doing. And so, you just kind of open one door, open one window, and then before you know it, the roof is blown up. And it's like, okay, this is it,
Right.
So it was an accidental find for me, but anyone who knows me knows I love talking. So if there's anybody that should put together with anything, we already talk every day. You know what I mean? As doctors, it's what we do. But I decided I could talk to 25 kids or 30 kids in the room every day as patients, or I could talk to 3,000 in a school.
Right.
So I approached my superiors, and they were like, it took them 2.5 weeks, almost 3 weeks to tell me no, that we don't want you to. All I asked was for 1 day off in a week so I can explore this thing that I may want to do as a side gig, is what I called it then. And they were like, no, we need you here 5 days a week, and your productivity is so good. I was literally at 136% productivity. So I said to them, I said, you know what, guys, if I can do it in 5 days, I can do it in 4 days. You want to work efficiently, not longer. You want to work better. And they kind of didn't fall on the right ears. So I said, how long do I have to put in to quit? They were like, what? I said, yes. And they were like, 2 months. I said, okay. Today is my first day of my 2 months. They could not believe it. Because I said to myself, I can do this and make a difference in more children's lives, and maybe their parents and everybody else who can hear me. Or I can just stay here and keep doing the same thing over. How many more kids is it going to take, for me to look? This is almost like a mini epidemic. And then when I started looking and started doing research, like my jaw just fell open, because the things I found, I can't even, it's major. It's major.
Wow.
Major.
I did not realize that it was so bad. And it sounds like it's not just so bad in your area of the world. It sounds like it's something that is nationwide. Am I right in this, or am I totally off base?
I wish I could stop at nationwide. So part of what I've been doing is I'm talking to a couple of short movies / documentary, because when I started literally looking, digging, I took each ethnic group. Okay, so I took Asians, then I took Middle Easterns, and I took Indians. I split them up. Then I took Nigerians, Ghanaians, I took Jamaicans. My spouse is Jamaican. I took Jamaicans. I came to America. I did Asian Americans. I did Hispanics. I looked at African Americans. I looked at Caucasians. When you're looking at the news, when you're looking at the research, all you see is white male, white male, white male, white male, white male, white female, white male, white male. When it comes to suicide, that's see. But when you dig a little deeper, did you know that as of May of 2017, actually 2018, the New York Times released, I guess, a news reel, is that what they call it, about a study that was done in 2017 that showed that African American children aged 5 to 11 are now twice as likely as their white counterparts to commit suicide.
Oh my God, that is so heartbreaking. Oh my gosh.
Beyond heartbreaking. So you see, when I saw that number, I had a chill. And I guess, when you start doing stuff, you know how when you buy a new car, every car on the road is your new car, So once I started doing this, people just send me articles, people just send me news clips, and I started seeing that, wait, it's not even just African Americans. And just last week, Wednesday, in the middle of my work week, I had to stop and do a Facebook Live because my wife sent me a news clip about a 9-year-old African American girl called Mackenzie Adams in Alabama.
Oh my gosh.
Why did she hang herself? Well, guess what? In school, other 9-year-old kids were telling her to kill herself. They called her bitch. They called her guy. They said to her, you think you're white because you're writing. So here's what happened. She was being bullied in school A. Her mother did the right thing any mother would do. Took her out of school A, put her in school B. But school B, the distance was far away from the house. So she was riding to school with another little boy who just happens to be Caucasian. That was not enough. They had to pick on the fact that she thought she was white because she's riding with her. Just to tell you the level, the depth that this has gone. So what I did that day was I spoke to parents. I charged the parents. I said, we have failed as a group of people, as a nation, as I don't know, humans, as the leaders of the world today, if our 9-year-old girls and boys have this kind of heart to tell another 9-year-old girl, just kill yourself.
Exactly.
Now, you tell a 9-year-old girl enough times to just kill herself. A girl who has already her spirit is already broken. She's been bullied and bullied and bullied again from a different school. And you know the worst part? All the teachers, all the counselors said they had no idea.
How could they not know?
My point exactly. I charged the teachers. I said, teachers, I hold you responsible for every single child who commits suicide ever again. Because one thing, if you watch enough YouTube videos, you will see the teachers who have gone over and beyond to find these kids that need help, to identify these kids. You know what? You know those funny clips of the teacher doing a high five and then a bump flip? Those teachers have taken the extra minute or two to find out this child is a high five kind of kid. This child is a fist bump kind of kid. They have done their research. Why can one teacher do it and another teacher not do it? And why would a parent not know that their child is a bully? So what I did was I said to them, find out if your child is the bully. If you ask your child if your child is being bullied and they say no, you ask your child if they know anybody who is being bullied and they say no, the next question is, are you the bully? Because the statistics have it that 15% of people are bullies. The other 15% are bullied. 70% of us are bystanders. Majority of us actually say, well, that's not my child, well, that's not my friend, well, I don't know her, or she's black, or she's Asian, she's a Muslim, she's got red hair, she's got a gap, she's got dreadlocks. They find anything to separate themselves now. And that is why in August of 2018, I did a special Facebook Live for a little boy called Jamel Miles. I don't know if you heard about him. Jamel Miles, during the summer, Jamel Miles discovered that he was gay. He was 8 years old. Okay, let me put it in perspective for you. An 8-year-old boy told his mom, said, Mom, I think I'm gay. And his mother was like, oh, my child, I love you, whatever, whatever. He said, I can't wait to get to school so I can tell my friends that I'm gay.
Oh, wow.
4 days after school started, he was hanging from his bed on his belt.
Oh my gosh.
His mother found him. He had been bullied by the same 8-year-olds. He could not wait to tell his news. The level of bullying, the age of onset of bullying now is over tripled. And then we wonder why kids go to the school and shoot up the school. Well, I have news for you. If you bully a kid enough times, and they want to lash out. They're going to show you that, you know what? Okay, you think I'm a wimpy, you think I'm soft, and what would they do? They'll find the hardest looking thing that they can do to prove to you that they're not. And one of it is pick up a gun, and the rest is history. Wow. So I started looking at all of these, other things that nobody really thinks about. And I realized that even in the Hispanic community, I live in San Antonio, Texas. Do you realize that we had the Out of the Darkness Walk, which I didn't know about until I found out about it? It's for suicide survivors' families, okay?
Wow.
About 350 names were called that day. 348 of them were Hispanics in one city. I had no idea the depth of suicide in the Hispanic community. So what I'm trying to say is, going back to what I said earlier, this white male, our narrative has to change. We have to stop looking at it like it's their problem, because it is here and it's here to stay. As a matter of fact, a month ago, another African-American girl in Alabama, 9 years old, what a coincidence, did the same thing. So is this a copycat behavior? Is there really this much bullying going on? Mm-hmm. I dare to say the latter. It's too much of a coincidence. These kids, all of them, all over the place, it's too much of a coincidence. So I've been so thankful that I've been able to I'm just looking for any kind of platform at all to talk to these parents, to look at their kids, come out and start having the conversation already. Let's start talking about it. So if little Jimmy was being bullied, what would you do? Mm-hmm. Something like that. Start off find out who their friends are and ask them about their friends. Ask their friends about your kid. My own son was depressed, and I even missed depression. I knew the time it happened. It was kind of after the divorce, but not quite. But he was being bullied to the point that another 12-year-old said to my then 12-year-old son, when God was making you, he left you too long in the oven. And
no.
I want you to hear the mindset of the children that were raising these. He's 20 years old now, but that was then. Another 12-year-old said that to him. I mean, where do you want to start? Like this, you can't make this stuff up.
Wow. It's definitely, I mean, I can, it's interesting that you raise this point. I mean, about the nidus of some of the depressive states being bullying, because I can think of times when I was bullied. I mean, I came to this country like yourself as a child. I came as a child, you came as an adult, but I came as a child, and I had to literally conform to the society. So I had to change the way that I spoke. I had to do all these things because it was just easier to do that, to change who I was, so that I would not be the source of bullying. But, people found other reasons to pick on me. And, it's just a matter of having good support systems around and having an outlet and understanding that there is a way other than, taking my life, which may not be available to some of these young people, which, it just saddens me. It really does, because bullying is so ubiquitous,
Yes, exactly. And the funny thing about it, you and I maybe, because I was bullied for years in the same country that I was born in, Nigeria. So I didn't even need to be like in a foreign country. So it's resilience. It all boils down to resilience. Like, can you handle it? But then how do you handle it? It has to start from home. Parents have to accept, first of all, that there's such a thing going on, and then raise their kids as such. But I found out by speaking to African Americans specifically, I dare to go there because this is from whence I come. I have to tell you that they are mostly in denial. A lot of them throw the Bible at the situation, or throw the God at the situation, and throw the prayer at the situation, which is good, but not everybody. Obviously, the 9-year-old girl, her mother did something. She took the kid. She actually took her out of the school. You know what I mean? Like she took
an action. She did. I mean, she saw the problem and she took an action thinking that that was going to be the solution. And then it turns out that it wasn't.
It wasn't. And now in her little mind, she's probably like, maybe I should have kept her in the, but of course, that's not ever an option. I'm just saying that you start doubting yourself. But she had done the right thing. She had done the right thing. She did not say, hush, little girl, you go be strong, or I didn't raise a wimp, or we don't know how hard it is for them in school. And now, of course, it's gone to the next level. It's on the cell phones. Her friend showed her mother the text messages. This is how we knew the words that were said to her.
Wow.
The text messages that were coming in. So first of all, her friend, I'm sure she's 9 years old. She probably didn't know any better. She didn't, maybe she should have told somebody, but she didn't. But however we got here, we got here.
Right.
It was being texted to her. They would pull her hair in school. They would, ostracize her. Her only crime was her skin color, something that she can never, ever, ever change. And then you think it's an African-American problem until you go next door to the Asians. And I only know this because I'm doing research for my book. And the Asian character in the book, I just threw anorexia at her. I said, you're going to have bulimia. I did not know how true my thought process was. And I went in, I started looking at Asian Americans versus just regular Asians in Korea, in Japan, how this body image thing has now come and taken over, and they all want to be westernized. Apparently their eyebrows, they have another brow, the eyelid.
They get an eyelid surgery.
The eyelid,
modify their eyelids.
Exactly. And it's like, and now they become big time bulimics, anoretics, and just, oh my goodness. And of course it spirals down to depression. And as I know, that not everyone that goes to the anorexia department comes out of it. A lot of them die from it. They may not be doing anything as abrupt as hanging themselves, which is very abrupt. Like, you're here today, you're gone tomorrow. But anorexia, as you know, is basically slow killing, so self-killing, and taking away nutrition, something that that you feed your body and feed your soul. You take that, and of course, as you know, that is mostly a control-based disease. Basically, well, I can control this. You can control anything else around me, but this one is mine. And then, they slowly work down their way to depression and everything else that comes with that. And, America is a boiling pot. So there's Africans and Nigerians, there's Asians, Indians. We have our own cultural differences. And then they come here and it's like a tug of war between, you're not quite Asian enough, you're not quite American enough. And the children are stuck in the middle. And it's just self-destruction. Anyhow you look at it, self-destruction. So, but I just realized that I think it was Halloween night. I got a phone call from a friend of mine. Well, she's like a mentee. She called the University of Rochester because an Asian kid had jumped out of the administrative building into the group of kids who were celebrating Halloween.
Wow.
Yes, to his death. An Asian American. You don't see those numbers. You know what I mean? So it's like nobody talks about anybody else. And so we have to literally go into our own communities and start the conversation and start talking about whatever it is you can think of that can cause you that can cause kids to get depressed. I promise you, it is happening. It is happening. And it's only when I started looking at it myself that I realized, oh my God, this is actually is a much bigger thing than I thought. It's almost like it's Herculean. So I have to get all my friends, all my doctor friends, anybody that is a doctor, to join in the campaign, to start looking for those things. And you're not thinking about it. When the child comes in with kind of unusual concerns, as you know, they start getting somatization symptoms.
Yeah.
Having stomach pains that just don't go away, leg pains that don't go away, always during the school week, and not there on the weekends. And just start plotting all those things together, because indeed that child might be bullied.
Yeah, no, it's pretty scary. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it.
Yes.
But I'm so thankful that you're becoming an advocate, or you are an advocate. I shouldn't say becoming, because clearly you are an advocate for those who cannot speak for themselves. And, that's where the difference is made. And I really appreciate you coming on the show and talking about this so we can get the information out. And definitely doing more and more shows, and I understand that you're going to be starting your own podcast shortly.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
this is how we get
excited.
the word out.
Yes, yes. And thank you so much for this opportunity. I cannot even, like, as you know, we can only scratch the surface. You can talk for 3 hours and still just be scratching the surface. The good thing, I think, for me, I want people to know is that there is help. And a lot of people, as you know, depression is a very lonely thing. It's a very personal journey. It's a very dark journey. But there's light everywhere. You just have to switch it on. There's help. There are people out there to help you. As a Nigerian, it is still one of the taboo topics. You don't want to talk about depression. Oh, that doesn't happen to us. Oh, that's from the devil. Oh, that doesn't happen to our tribe, or our people don't get that. But that's not true. So as soon as we start talking about it, first of all, then we can start breaking down the barriers. And every time I give a talk, I always refer to Miss Tarana Burke. And I just thank her so much for daring to say, me too.
Yeah.
She took a stand and said, I'm not going to be a victim anymore. I'm not going to be quiet about this anymore, because this shouldn't even be happening. Same thing with depression. You know, we should just start talking about it. And when you start talking about it, it's one of the few things that I can say there is treatment for it. I wouldn't use the word cure, but there's definitely treatment for it. And you can get better. There are many, many things you can do: lifestyle changes, counseling, you name it, education, awareness, things like that will change your mindset and just help you readjust your way of looking at things. Like that 9-year-old girl now, with all due respect, you know, she rests in peace. Maybe if she waited 3 more years, she'd be in middle school, she'd be away from those kids. Or is it maybe 1 more year? I don't know when they get into middle school.
Yeah.
And she deal with those kids anymore, but she can't see past today and right now and right here, which is why I want people to know. The more they know that, look, this is not going to last. It's not going to be forever. It's going to get better. People are going to go away. They're going to grow up. They're going to grow out. They're going to change, or you are going to change. And it doesn't have to end in suicide. It does not.
No, absolutely. No, that is a golden point for real, because that is just something that, you know, as a youth, you're not seeing the forest through the trees. You really aren't. You're just seeing what is happening to you at that moment. So it's definitely up to us as the adults to help them through that and to show them the way.
I wish it was just the youth, though. Unfortunately, you know, you turn on the TV, there's an adult and another one. And that's why I say sometimes that I dare to guess and say that children are now learning to commit suicide because adults have exemplified the behavior. Because I don't see why a 6-year-old, where they will get the idea that it's so permanent, or a 9-year-old or an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old to tell another child to go kill yourself, or why don't you just kill yourself? That idea is just so foreign to their brains. They must have gotten it from outside.
Somewhere. Yeah, you're correct. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Wow. So do you want to talk just a little bit about what you offer, like what because I know that you do speaking engagements, like how can the people find you?
Essentially, that's what I do. I mean, I do some coaching. I started doing that, and it was a bit much. It ended up kind of taking a little bit more than I wanted to with the parents and the teams. I still do that. I still would like to, maybe one-on-one more than group. I did the group coaching thing, and I realized everybody was not at the same place at the same time. So we're very happy to do that. So yes, I do one-on-one coaching, mostly with the parents, and then the kids, of course, come along. I find that if I can get, because like you said, the support system is what we need. And so if I can get the parents to just say the right thing, know what not to say to your child, it's huge. It's huge. If your teenager would even dare to talk to you, as you know, they don't text.
Yeah, it's kind of a sticky time
for
them.
But if they
don't always talk to us.
Yes, if they will even speak to you and maybe want to discuss it with you, what do you say? What do you not say? So if I can get the parents to know a little bit more, that's great. And then I also coach the teenagers. I find out that with teenagers it's easy. I go to the schools and I talk to the schools. And I do that more. So I call that my main gig now, and actually being a pediatrician is now my side gig. It's like, I need to do this more because, the need is so huge. And I know a lot of other people that are doing it, so I'm happy more people are beginning to talk about it. But you just start in your little corner, start in your room, start at home, start at your church. You know what, talking about the church, the African American church, as you know, is so central to who we are. I would wish that more of my churches, more of our pastors embrace the need to talk about this as a reality, as opposed to you did something wrong and then you're being punished, or you need to pray harder. Yeah, pray for you to get supportive family members and a good doctor that can recognize it, yes, but not saying, oh, I'm just gonna, it's not my portion, or things like that just propagates the situation even more, because then the child is like not gonna speak about it because I don't want to say anything because you're gonna think I'm not clean enough, or I'm just not anointed, or the anointing didn't work, or whatever kind of way you want to explain it. I just would wish that the African American church specifically, if there are any listeners out there, that's one place that I would love for the discussion to start. Because indeed the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, they have this hashtag called Talk Saves Lives, and then hashtag Silence Kills. Those are the favorite hashtags. My own personal hashtag is Stop the Silence, the Shame, and the Suicide, basically the 3 S's, because I feel like if there wasn't silence, then there wouldn't be shame, or if there wasn't shame, there wouldn't be silence, and of course, there will be no suicide. So let's stop all those 3 S's already, and maybe, just maybe, one more child will be saved, because they're going to be able to talk about it freely. It's hard enough talking about it. I was depressed myself. I was suicidal. And, if we're having doctors completing suicide left, right, and center, you can imagine when a doctor commits suicide, the thing about it is not just the doctor and his family, is, I don't know, his 600,000 patients.
All the people you come in contact with. Wow.
That suddenly have no doctor. And do we look at it like in May of this year, same month, a Nigerian colleague of mine, a very brutal way that he took his life. He used a kitchen knife. He was an anesthesiologist. I mean, it's just like, oh my God, this happened this year. Wow. So adults, children, parents, everybody, it's the kids in school, the doctorate students, the college students, all of them need to be aware of what not to do, what to say. Like, let me call 1-800-273-TALK. Let me call 1-800-SUICIDE for you. Let's go together to go see someone. Let's go together. I will be there with you. It's not just a matter of, oh, really? How can you say that? Your parents are so rich, or you have all this, you have everything you need, or you know what I mean? Like, right. Don't talk like that. It's not, oh, you're faking it, or you're just lazy, or, it's probably your diet, or maybe, those are all the myths that we hear about. Or don't say that loud. You don't want people to look at us funny, like our family's got some problems, or, all those things that you say, and then you've missed the one opportunity that you had, the maybe 3 seconds you had to counsel your child, and they're not going to come back and talk to you anymore. And then the next thing you know, substance abuse kicks in, or, worse.
Right. Wow. That is a lot to think about, for sure. Thank you so much for sharing. That's an amazing situation. It's very sad, but it's an eye-opening one as well. And it's just, the more we talk about it, is the more we can get the word out, and the more we can acknowledge when we see someone who is in that situation that needs the help. So I definitely appreciate all the work that you're doing, and for being so vocal about it. So I just wanted to kind of wrap up our show at this point. And on this show, we focus on facing fears. That is the biggest theme that underlies the background of the show. And I know you talked a lot about fears as you were speaking, and fear from the patient side, from the victim side, and then fear from the family side. And so that was very awesome. What I'd like to talk about is just kind of rounding it out with taken it to you personally and just have you fill in the blanks on these 3 sentences. The first one is, to me, fearless freedom means?
Fearless freedom means, in my situation at least, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago, I basically just quit my job. I mean, I love what I do. I love, love, love. I think if you cut my skin, you probably bleed pediatrics and not blood. But I quit my job. I had no other job. I had nothing lined up. I just like, you know what? I got to go for it. And for me, I think it takes a different level of freedom. Even my dad, who is a 2-star general in the Nigerian Air Force, was like, what? Have you lost it? And I was like, no, Daddy, you have to trust me that this is bigger than me. This is something that I feel I have to do. And so I walked away. I didn't look back. Maybe the 2 months that led to my final day, I had a couple of days. I was like, oh my God, what are you doing? What are you doing? But you know what they say about courage is being afraid and still going forth. And so I went forth. And I'm so glad that I did. It's just the beginning. I can only ask myself this time next year, how many more lives I will have touched and how many more people would have heard and just started talking about it, which is the key thing, is talk about it. Just start talking about it. So I'm very thankful that I did take that plunge and I did walk away from that job and whatever was holding me back from just doing this new thing and lighting this spark and just hoping to see that it, the fire catches on and, the whole forest gets burned down.
Awesome. And then, if I am fearless, I will
hopefully change the world one person at a time. It takes a lot to change. Change is the hardest thing I think anybody can do. If you don't believe me, try a diet and call me back in 3 months and tell me if you're still sticking with it. So hopefully change the world one person at a time. Stop the depression and the suicide one person at a time. As you know, every 40 seconds, somebody commits suicide. So since the, almost hour that we've been talking, that gives you an idea of how many people. It's about 1 million people a year. But that's only those that are recorded. As you know, most people don't want to talk about the fact that their family member died from suicide, so they don't even record it. So imagine if we talked about if we actually recorded all the suicide deaths, how many? It would be more than 2 million a year. And that's somebody that was walking and talking yesterday, and today they're gone. So hopefully it will be just changing one life at a time, just changing one person at a time.
Wow. And then our last statement is, my battle cry is?
My battle cry, I already mentioned it earlier, is just hashtag stop the shame, stop the silence, and stop the suicide. So I guess 4 S's. Stop already. Stop with the shame. It is what spirals into the silence, and that's obviously what leads them to just having no other option but to take their lives. So yeah, so we stop the shame, the silence, and the suicide.
Thank you so much, Dr. Umeh, for talking to me and sharing your words of wisdom with the audience. I am going to make sure that all your information is in the show notes so they'll be able to access that. And I appreciate your time so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a good afternoon.